Okay, I am back for another episode of the Out of the Box podcast. I am sitting in the wonderful original Tor Oak FC shirt in a box football shirt. We made this top 4 years ago. It's inspired a little by, I think it was an Arsenal top at the time where they had it and it looked a bit like a bus seat. That's what I always think this looks like. It is a bus seat football shirt. Gets a good bit of compliments, but I haven't worn this one in near a year now, and we actually have a green version that a friend gifted back to me because I didn't have one, and I want to get it framed and shown off, but it's even nicer than this, and I'll maybe wear that next week. I've got a few things I want to run through. So first of all, we have been building a board and have been a little bit quiet on this, but after wanting to do this for probably over a year now and kind of getting pushed back by our finance agency at the time, I've finally got round to building a small team of 3 people. I'm not quite really there yet of announcing who those people are. It's 3 people who will make up a board, and so essentially it's an advisory board, and it's slightly different to if you have private investors or people who are on shareholding. At the minute I still own full equity, so I don't have to have a board. It's not mandatory, and often what will happen is private investors will come on board as long as they can be part of the board. So it wasn't mandated, but it was something I wanted to do, and ultimately, because it's an advisory board, I can choose to ignore the advice of the board if I really want to, but that's not the purpose, and that's not why I'm creating it. I'm creating it because I want to be held accountable, because our business model fundamentally relies on us taking people and training them up, essentially graduates, and believing in them and giving them opportunities. But the trade-off is we lose all that experience, and that is what a board can provide. It's people who have been there and done that. So I've been quietly building one in the background. This has been a project for maybe 2 months now, and I didn't want to announce anything ahead of time, and I probably won't make a LinkedIn post about this. Instead, I want to kind of keep it under wraps until we've got everyone announced. Essentially how it'll work is we'll do quarterly meetings with the board, and then we'll do monthly updates. So only 4 meetings a year getting together, but again, all these board members will be consistently there throughout the year for me to call on if needs be and give advice, which, as always, there is need for advice. But I'm excited, and one of the main reasons that kind of this happened was I was speaking to a potential, it wasn't really an investor, but they talked kind of about it, but someone who built their own business and exited and now is an advisor and investor. And we were having a conversation. He was saying about, do you have a board in place? And I was just asking questions around that. And he said, board is something they wish they did way earlier. And when they actually got acquired, they were able to show the investors we've had these 10 years of board meetings that are scrutiny over what we've been doing as a management team throughout the business. So there's that extra layer. And I guess as we go from startup to scale up, we need to continually professionalize and keep achieving these milestones, and having a formal board of people who've been there and done that is one of those milestones. So the board is pretty much built. I'm waiting for 1 or 2 sign-offs on it, but then I'll make a full announcement of everyone who's on it, and I'll probably do an episode around who's on it and why. But I've been preparing recently what the monthly messages / updates will look like, and they're not too dissimilar to kind of the monthly end accounts and commentary I would already get / do from my finance agency. Again, if you skip the last few episodes, I've retired the finance agency and I'm now doing everything myself for that with the help of a few automations. So it's not too much more work, and then there's just a lot of commentary around it, which is easy enough done. And then the quarterly deck is a bit more in-depth, and it analyzes progression quarter to quarter. And the purpose of that is people read through it, and then maybe 3 days before, we go to meetings, and then when we're in the meeting, we can just work through each slide. We can address people's queries, worries, concerns, and have a thoughtful discussion rather than just scrutinizing over kind of an Excel spreadsheet. Let's move on from the board then. There's another thing that we've been doing. We've been hiring for a social media role, and really it's 2 social media roles. And I think I've touched on this about how we're trying to build out our social media department. It was one of our annual goals for this year. was to achieve kind of brand recognition and growth, and organic brand recognition and growth, that is. And slowly but surely we have found our way onto the formula that has given us success. As a result of that, we've been hiring to keep building that team. And in the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks that we've been running the job, we've had over 500 applicants, which is crazy. Now, something even more crazy is the fact that local statistics came out from Northern Ireland and said the current unemployment rate is at 1.4%, which is incredibly low. I think the UK flutters between 3 and 5%, but the fact that Northern Ireland itself is at 1.4% is ridiculous. However, this doesn't tally with the numbers we're seeing. Over 500 applicants in 2 weeks suggests that the job market is pretty flush in terms of, people who don't have jobs or are seeking new jobs. First of all, I think there's a discrepancy, and I would heavily judge those numbers that, the official economists are putting out. And then from someone who's inside of a company and seeing all of these, what we're seeing is there's a lot of graduates, and I think maybe graduate roles have dried up, and a lot of people who are maybe trying to change from the roles they're in. So maybe they have got a role straight out of university just to get a job, and now they want to start progressing into a marketing career. That is something they're passionate about. So you've kind of got two applicants, one who's a graduate, and then one who's trying to kind of switch tack really into a new job, but not necessarily a new career because they do have marketing experience. It's crazy to me that there is so many people applying for our jobs, and I'm pretty grateful. And I think this is part of the journey, is that we're first a football company, we are growing, we have good brand recognition, and all three things probably help with us getting awareness in the job market, and we're in a great position to have 500 applicants. That's really good. And I know there's another kind of state-backed company that I know that received about 500 for about 6 jobs. It was offering more money and probably just more stability than what we can offer, and yet it was getting the same number of applicants over a wider period of time. So it kind of shows that we do have a greater appeal, and hopefully that's reflected in better applicants and then better hires and a better team, and it's a self-fulfilling prophecy that we keep getting better as a result. But yeah, my main point of this was to say, don't read all the news headlines that you see. 1.4% unemployment rate would tell you that first, AI is not taking any jobs, and secondly, that we don't have enough unemployed people, that jobs are tough to fill, when in reality it is very much different. Finally, I want to touch on a bit of my personal stuff. So I mentioned this 2 weeks back about how, because I've offboarded the finance agency and then Erin's progressed into a creative role, that now both admin and finance jobs have been piling on to me. And especially the last 2 weeks, it's felt pretty brutal. A lot of finance jobs are eating my week, and it's not as fun, but I am convinced, and again, time will prove this correct or prove it wrong, but these finance tasks are one-off. And so that, yes, it takes investment up front, but in a month's time, these finance problems won't actually require much input from me. As a result, we'll have made a huge saving of that finance wage, but also, again, I get much closer to the numbers, which is a benefit. But yeah, I just want to talk on that because it is pretty brutal, like my week, and I feel stretched on time, which I don't like to feel. And normally when my time feels very stretched, I normally think, okay, can we go and hire something to take something off my plate? However, when I look at it and I analyse my calendar, I'm convinced that these tasks and these chores I'm doing at the minute is just because A, we're at month's end close, B, we have to file our financial year end accounts, and then C, we're doing VAT returns all at the same time. We're also working on a few financing things in the background as well, which takes time. And really, because the first 3 weren't fully done from the finance agency, the 4th one, the financing problems, all stem from the first 3. So once I have managed to fix these, we should be in a better place, and it should be a lot more autonomous, I am hoping. And I was thinking this again on my lunch break. We will only find out if this is true in 3 or 4 weeks' time. But yeah, just trying to be honest with everything and where I'm at. Appreciate everyone who listens and who watches. Thank you again, and I'll see you next week.